everybody, welcome back to my channel. I am Stephanie, and if you're new here, welcome. If not, welcome back. I don't know that I have that many folks following me, but if you are someone that so happened to keep following me, that's amazing. God bless. It feels like I'm a new person coming back onto here because I am, right? I have lived many lives over the time I've had on YouTube. I've been part of a range of communities when I first started my channel to where I am now. And this feels very different to all the other times that I've tried to come on here and do something and share my life. So if you don't know me, like I said, my name is Stephanie. I am a clinical social worker, and I have the business Beneath the Healing that has an encompass of things underneath it. So I am an author. I've written 2 children's books, and I've written a devotional, a Christian devotional as well. That was my most recent publication. All self-published, learning the process as I go. And my 2 kids' books are centered around mental health for kids in a way that they can digest it. I am married, blended family, 3 kids between the 2 of us, happily married. Just renewed our vows last April. It was beautiful, 10 years married. And I live pretty simply. So that's my intro. But if you have found this, or if you are someone who has kept up with either myself, my podcast, Purposely Derailed, or any capacity of work that I've done in my community, or engaged in the community, I should say, then you might know a little bit about me already. And I wanted to come on here and I guess talk a little bit about everything that has felt like a barrier with consistency and sharing. I'm very open and transparent when I post on my podcast because that just feels a little bit easier. It is easier to me personally because one, I don't edit it and I just talk and then I just upload. This has components to it and setups and focus. But I've always wanted to do this as well, with not just only having audio on my podcast, but also sharing video content about testimony, really. Like I said, I've lived what feels like 1,000 lives and have had a lot of different experiences in those 1,000 lives. But I think right now it feels very much like I'm finally exhaling the deep breath that I've held for decades, I guess, right? I have previously shared of my history of suicidal ideation. I've shared history around what we endured when our daughter had gotten sick with nephrotic syndrome and what that was like. I shared my battle with driving my car into a tree. So my approach as a social worker has never been to come on here and share more psychoeducational information, right? My approach and my goal had always been to share transparency in everyday lives of everyday people, that others may sit here and try to categorize us as folks that don't experience those types of things. And who knows, maybe it's like taboo, I don't know, to sit here and be in my profession and talk about my own challenges around mental health. But I think it's important because if I don't start there, then I can't continue in how God has stepped into my life and absolutely transformed it from where I once was to where I am now. So my career and the profession that I've chosen plays a minuscule role, right? Because for me, finding human services was accidental and happened through needing the services when I was in high school. Um, a lot of things led up to me needing to work with a provider. And initially, I didn't even know this profession. I, like most people, associated social work with DCF, or the Department of Children and Families, the Peoples. So I always gave them a bad rap until I worked with a clinician that happened to be a clinical social worker, because there's a lot of different categories. Anyway, all that to say, my choice in career came from being someone that had to be on the receiving end of those supportive services first. That was my introduction to it. And at least in my case, it was one that I could rely on. It was difficult. There was a lot of cultural differences, but it was one that I learned so much about how to apply practical skills in getting better, or coping strategies and all that, like literally building an arsenal. Um, and for a long time, those skills were working, right? And so initially, side note, I was going to school because I wanted to be a pediatrician. So there was always something in my heart that knew I wanted to help people, and I wanted to be part of their overall health. I wanted to contribute to the healing of people's lives. So until I realized that you should probably be strong in numbers and science to go down that route. And you know what? At the time, I just wasn't. Nope, I just wasn't. So I managed to jump around a little bit before landing on human services, which then turned into social work, which then here I am today. The thing with choosing this field is that you are choosing a field. You are not choosing a specific job in that field. There's so much that you can do. And I think that we forget that sometimes. We kind of just assume the couple of things that most social workers would do, either with psychoeducation, and maybe you're someone that shares information, teaches, and coaches, which is amazing. Maybe you are a teacher, educator, professor, or you're providing a direct therapeutic support service to, whether it be individual therapy or family therapy, or or marriage counseling, a level of counseling within the schools, within hospitals. But for me, none of those things quite fit because I'm extra. And I couldn't stop going back to the things that I just knew growing up would have been helpful for me to have access to. Not just me, my family, right? So that's where my first kids book, my first children's book was written. Ellie the Meditation Elf. And it was born from being a mom that had a child that was experiencing significant anxiety due to her medical history. And I wanted to create something that she could kind of see herself in, something that she could read over the years and learn a little bit about anxiety, where it wasn't just what mom said or what dad said. My husband's in the field as well. It was something that she could pick up on her own. And I don't think I was prepared for how that was received. It was beautiful. I was super supported in my community around it. I got the opportunity to do vendor events and market my book and everything, and it was lovely, and I am so grateful. It just all happened very rapidly, and that's where the spiral down started to happen. Because I remember the pressure of, oh, how do I kind of keep up with this and produce? And it wasn't, it didn't initially come from wanting to produce something that was going to be successful. My intention was just to create access for my own kids. And I realized if my kids need something, other people's kids I know need something, because I've worked with different kids that this could be a beneficial tool for them or for teachers to be able to use in classrooms. And so I embarked on a journey of trying to curate, well, the goal is to curate all 4 books of the 4 characters um, that are introduced in Ellie, the meditation of. So I collaborated again with the illustrator, John. Shout out to you. John is a young person from the Philippines and an incredible artist. My goodness, we met over Animal Crossing. I actually have a tattoo of our little Animal Crossing characters that John made. I don't know if you can, I don't know how to do that. It's a weird pose. It's John and I. He made me into a little giraffe. Which, why are there no giraffes in Animal Crossing? Anyway, and he's a little cat. So that was such a wonderful experience. So we initially, when we created the first book, it was just one little character that I came up with, but John created 3 others, and immediately I saw this being able to be a beautiful series of mental health resources for kids. And we put 2 together. We did Ellie the meditation elf, and we did Ollie the calming elf, which teaches kids about ADHD. So the plan is to pick those two other books up this year. But to be very realistic, I want to ensure that I'm following the timeline that God has put on my heart, and not one that I've created for myself. And I think that that's where I failed. And that's where I withdrew completely, because I was giving myself timelines that God did not co-sign nor agree with. They were not in alignment with Him. I was trying to focus on keeping up with the momentum to stay relevant. And no, no. So I remember that first year that those 2 books came out. It was one after the, I think it was like the first one had to be in like early spring, and the second one was like the following year. I can't remember exactly, but they were within a year of each other. And so I remember saying, you know what, I am just going to say yes, right? And that felt in alignment with God. I'm very to myself. I tend to be a huge introvert, unless I'm working. But I am a huge introvert. I don't really, peopling in me, it ain't it. It ain't it. Just being real. So I told myself I'm going to just say yes to every opportunity that presents itself. And I didn't necessarily have to go searching for them. They were they were doors that God was opening on His own. And I remember that year being booked every single month, whether it be a marketing event, a vendor event, tabling, speaking. I was being pulled in all different directions. And I loved every aspect of it, particularly speaking. Those opportunities, when they came along, I always see it as a moment to be able to glorify God and really share testimony of there's more to your story, even when you feel like you're ready to put it yourself. So anyway, I was doing those. And then came a moment of reflection. My podcast was still kind of going inconsistently because I've been inconsistent with it. So I halted because I kept on trying to work on this other book that goes along with my journaling group. And I could not get past that writer's block. My goodness, I could not get past the writer's block that I had around it, because this requires me to tap into that psychoeducational component of being a clinician. And that's just something that's just a muscle that I was not trying to exercise at that point in time. So I remember being in my Bible, and I always I'm kind of excessive in the way that I take notes in different journals for different things. So I have an approach in one of my journals for referencing and paraphrasing scripture for my understanding. And then it kind of clicked for me in that moment that I can share this. I can share this. I can just share this devotional time that I have. And so I published my devotional. That one I actually do have near me. The kids' books I don't have next to me, but my 31-day journaling devotional, Healing in Him, it's a hardcover. All the photos in here are photos that I captured. The devotionals are devotionals that came from my own Bible study time. It wasn't something that I sat here and said, okay, on day one, this is what I want others to experience. Like, no, this was like when I went back and to look at it, I'd been doing this for months at the time. So I started at the very beginning and I counted 31 days and I just wrote out what I had put in for myself on those times and made it into something that could be shared with other people. So it's a 31-day journaling devotional, and every day has a photo that I took along with a devotion. And then with each day, there is also a promise, a meditate on the word, so things to kind of consider and think about, and then a prayer request to journal, and a blank spot to be able to write on. And that's for 31 days. And I actually, on my podcast, I did 31 days of, I followed it for 31 days to really share it in that aspect. And this was me fully recognizing that if I was going to do anything, I had to put God in the middle of it. End of story. Which is when everything stopped. I knew that moving forward was no longer about sharing my life. Moving forward was about sharing my testimony. And there is a difference, because I can come on here and I can vent about every single day and I can talk about the challenges and all these things. But if I am not highlighting and glorifying God in the ways that He is showing up in every single moment of my life, the way that He has shown up throughout my entire life, the way that He has had favor on me my whole life in so many different circumstances for things that I really like, I'm a 3-time suicide survivor. Like I should not, how I'm still here, just Him, right? So if I'm going to do this and share anything, the message has to always be the same. And I know that that's difficult right now because there's so much mixed messaging around religion versus Christianity versus left and right. And I'm not here for any of that. I'm here only to share testimony. And going back to my point of I've lived so many lives in such a short time, because it is a short time. I'm not ancient, but I'm not young. I want to feel young. I want to be able to get to the point that I am who God has called me to be. There are things that the Holy Spirit has revealed to me years ago that I would have never envisioned for myself, never envisioned that were possible. But God is the God of the impossible, right? And at the same time that I halted everything, was coming back after renewing our vows, The fact that I halted things like in my workforce, God halted me in my physical form because I suddenly lost the ability to walk. I tried to get up one day and nearly fell. Um, I had no strength in my legs and my knees. Now I do have two knee injuries and tendonitis in my ankles, but there was something different about that. Literally, I could not, I was bedridden. I remember with my job, I had to take accommodation to work from home. It was intense. And I still don't have an answer at all. Outside of God sat my ass down, period. He said no. He said, you don't listen. Siéntate. You're stubborn. Siéntate. That is what he said. And so I was forced to be obedient because I was. I had to be obedient. I had to rest. And I don't think I realized just how depleted I was with trying to make sure every relationship I had was intentional and everybody felt like they, like I was showing up in their lives and that I was able to really, juggle mom and wife and job and, my peer relationships and, am I spending enough time here? And I had no social battery. The battery pack was dead and burnt. It caught fire. It exploded, and I had no battery pack. And it ended up becoming a reality check when I saw just how much my health was really starting to decline pretty rapidly. And there are still things that I have challenges with now. But even those things I know are different because God is carrying me through them in a different way. Like, for example, I want to be able to work out. I want to be able to go to the gym. I want to be able to get healthy. And I've suffered with fibromyalgia and endometriosis. And flare-ups are painful. I've not been able to exercise where the next day I'm not in a full flare until recently. Until just recently. God has given me wisdom and ways to be able to navigate what that would look like for my body. And it's been a revelation for real. I've gone to the gym twice in the last 2 weeks. Now that might not feel like a big deal to you, but for me and my body, that is huge, which sucks because I used to dance. I used to be pretty active. And I'm not anymore. So if I want longevity to reach people and do God's calling, I need to be able to breathe. So I had mentioned that I'm just going to show up as I am. And we're just going to do this together. And that I was treating this like a video diary. Today is the 21st of January, I believe. And I feel good. There's going to be days that are not this easy. Today wasn't easy. But there's going to be days that don't feel like this. And I know that. And I'll have to, if God, wills it, it'll be something that's shared too, right? It's about transparency. It's not about day vlogging and look at what I'm doing. It's about moments that should be shared as sharing testimony. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. And I don't know what that looks like fully. I don't know if it's this all the time. I'm still trying to figure out how my podcast is going to come back because you want consistency. You want that to be something that is people can, I guess, count on. But if I'm here to just please people, then very quickly am I going to get off the path if I'm focusing on that and not focusing on pleasing God, which feels amazing, by the way. It's like something finally clicked and I can see very, very clearly And I am so grateful. So stick around if you are wanting to go on this journey of healing with me as I reestablish what beneath the healing is supposed to look like in God's will. Because it's His, not mine. And again, beneath my healing is Him. And I have to share that. So I hope that you stick around. If there's anything that you want to know about me, feel free to leave a comment, ask, as long as not crazy, I will answer. And I am looking forward to building a community of healers here. So with that being said, I will catch you guys in the next video. Thanks for sticking around. Bye.